Hi everyone. In this video we are going to learn about supply. First we will learn what supply is, just like in the demand video, and then we will move on to the law of supply, then the conditions of supply. So what is supply? It is basically the willingness and the ability to sell a product. So in supply case scenarios, we take the perspective of the supplier. We think that we are the supplier. What is the law of supply? The law of supply states that an increase in price will lead to an increase in quantity supplied, and a decrease in price will lead to a decrease in quantity supplied, which basically means that there is a positive relationship between price and quantity supplied. What is the reason behind this? Let's say I'm the supplier of chocolates. When the price of chocolates increase, if I sell more chocolates during that particular period when there is a price rise, I can get more profits. Therefore, I will supply more goods in the market, which is why the quantity supplied increases. It is because of this law of supply that the supply curve is upward sloping. So let's take a point like this. So this is the price and this is the quantity. When the price is 10, the quantity supplied is also 10. But when the price increases to 20, as the supplier, I would like to supply more because I can earn more by supplying more. So the quantity supplied increases to 20. This movement upwards is nothing but extension in supply. In case of a decrease in price to 5, the quantity supplied will also decrease because the supplier wouldn't want to sell at a lower price. This movement along the curve, the downward movement along the curve, is contraction in supply. So with that, we are done with extension and contraction. Now let's move on to conditions of supply. These are the factors other than price that will affect the supply. Now the effect of these conditions will be an increase or a decrease in supply, which is basically a shift in the curve. Let's assume that the original supply curve is S. If the supply curve shifts to the right to S1, that is an increase in supply. But if the supply curve shifts to the left, that is a decrease in supply. Now let's see what factors will lead to this increase or decrease. Right, so over here I have listed out some factors that will affect supply. Let's learn with examples, then we will be able to understand and analyze each and every situation well. So first one, price of raw materials. Let's say I'm producing chocolates and the raw material for me would be cocoa. If the price of cocoa increase, that means producing chocolates is expensive. So my cost will increase. Now producing chocolates is costly, so I would supply less because it's expensive to supply. But what if the price of raw materials decrease? If the cocoa prices decrease, then it's cheaper to produce chocolates, so I would produce more chocolates, then the supply will increase. The opposite case. Second one, use of technology. Now, let's say I'm using more advanced technology to produce chocolates. I'm using more automated, a much more automated production line in order to produce chocolates. That means I can produce more chocolates at the same time than before because it's way more effective. That means my supply will increase. But if the machinery that I'm using in my factory is outdated, and it's not functioning well, then my supply will decrease because it's not productive. Third case, we have tax. Tax again is a cost for the supplier. When tax is imposed or if the tax is increased, the cost will increase. As a result, the supply will decrease because it's expensive. So there will be a shift to the left in the supply curve. But what if the tax imposed is reduced or if the tax is removed? Then it's cheaper to produce the product. So as the supplier, I will supply more. Shift to the right in the supply curve. Then we have subsidy. Subsidy is, remember it like the opposite of tax. Why? Because subsidy is a benefit that the government gives, whereas tax was a cost imposed by the government on the suppliers. Then if subsidy is a benefit or a grant, it's a grant given by the government. Since it's a benefit, a grant, then suppliers will supply more. Because producing products become cheaper since there is a grant. So I would supply more. But what if the subsidy is removed or the amount of subsidy given is reduced? Then compared to before, it's expensive to produce the product. I would supply less. Next we have weather condition. Now this depends on the product we are looking at. So let's say agricultural products, that's the best example. Let's say I'm cultivating corn. If the weather condition is favorable, my harvest would be greater. That means my supply will be greater as well. But if the weather is unfavorable, if it's raining heavily or if it's too sunny, then my crop can get destroyed. Then the supply might reduce. There will be a shift to the left in the supply curve. Finally, we have the number of suppliers. This is pretty straightforward. If the number of suppliers in the market increase, obviously there are more firms to supply that particular product. If there are more chocolate factories in the market, there are more suppliers to supply chocolates. So the supply of chocolate overall will increase. But if the number of suppliers decrease, if chocolate factories close up and leave the market, then the supply will decrease, which will lead to a shift to the left in the supply curve. That's all you need to know about the basics when it comes to the basics of supply.